Ladies and gentlemen, what I present to you today is Lamar Jackson's biggest fear. Going down 0-2 in the regular season, 0-4 versus Patrick Mahomes. It is not a good look entering this matchup for the Baltimore Ravens if you go off of a recent history. But I'm not going to be using just that. I'm going to give the full breakdown, the full match, the full projection, the full prediction of what I think will happen in this game. But before going into that, I got to hear from you guys. What is your prediction for this game? Do you think it's a blowout, a shootout, one-score game? Comment down below that score prediction for Sunday Night Football, and we'll see how we match up. Getting straight into it though, just a recap: Week 1, Chiefs had a great performance against the Cleveland Browns, who had an outstanding game, an outstanding roster. Yet it's Mahomes boy, it's Patrick Mahomes. You got to be absolutely perfect if you want to try and beat him. No mistakes are allowed. Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, suffered a very tough loss in a crazy, intense Monday Night Football game. That was fun to watch. You can see their stats right here. 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions for Mahomes. Already looking like some MVP numbers. Lamar Jackson, 235 yards, 1 touchdown. No interceptions, but there were 2 very notable fumbles in that game. And without those fumbles, you could argue the Baltimore Ravens would win that football game. Entering this game, as you can see, Clyde, Lamar Jackson, that's kind of how the run game's going to be going. You can't expect too much out of, the Ravens run game, granted the circumstances of them losing J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. You guys know the deal. Now they're working with Tyson Williams, Latavius Murray, Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman. They're just they're on 4th strings right now. Tyreek Hill took off. Sammy Watkins had a Week 1 Sammy Watkins type performance-esque at least. Mahomes 4 total touchdowns. L'Jarius Sneed played well. Chris Jones was a monster. Ravens defense, there's still specks of talent. I mean, if we look at their depth chart, at their defense specifically, I still like Calais Campbell, a 6'8 freak. He's still going to get you some help. Brandon Williams with him. Derek Wolfe, longtime Bronco, I guess some name to have in there. Patrick Queen, Justin Houston, Odafe looked pretty good. Linebacker core, the front seven's looking for the most part solid. And Marlon Humphrey to lead them in the back is good. Jimmy Smith's a good number 3 corner. Deshaun Elliott, Devon Young, I like those guys, but still to not have Marcus Peters is it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a tough one. It's not exactly what the Ravens want, especially when you're entering a game against the Chiefs, who has Mahomes and who has Tyreek Hill, who went off for 98 yards last week. I mean, breaking it down, in my opinion, who wins the quarterback matchup? I like Lamar, but Mahomes is the best in the league. The quarterback matchup goes towards the Kansas City Chiefs and for this advantage. Backfield, Clyde isn't, elite. He's not a back, but he's not an A+ back, excuse me. But given the 4th strings the Ravens are working with, he wins this matchup. Offensive line, the way Alejandro Villanueva looked with Frank Clark and coming back with Chris Jones next to him, I have concerns. I still like what they have. I still like Ronnie Stanley and Kevin Zeitler, but the Chiefs looked pretty good. The pretty revamped offensive line. Orlando Brown Jr., former Raven, Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Lucas Ning. There still needs to be some chemistry there. They still might play around on Mike Remmers and Austin Blythe. Might be rotating these guys in and out as the season goes on just to find the correct lineup they want to rock with. But so far, it's looking pretty solid. I'd give the edge to the Chiefs on offensive line, but I could get an argument towards the Ravens just due to Ronnie Stanley being an elite tackle. Receiving room easily goes to the Chiefs here. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. While there is a large drop-off after that, McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Pringle, no one really stepped up to the nth degree as a number 2 receiving option or a number 2 receiver and a number 3 receiving option if you consider Kelce in there as well. But compared to the Ravens missing Rashad Bateman, I like Sammy Watkins, I like Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews, but they're just not on that Chiefs level. So everything on offense is favored to the Chiefs. Defense, front 4, taking a look at it, like I said, Frank Clark's going to be coming back. Frank Clark, Chris Jones, kind of your 2 most notable guys. If you look at just the front 4 specifically, looking at the Ravens front 4, they kind of run a different defense. To me, their front 4 would kind of be Derek Wolfe, Brandon Williams, Calais Campbell, Justin Houston, roughly. They run a different defense than the Chiefs, but still, I'd personally give it to the Chiefs, just the way Chris Jones performed last week, but I would say the Ravens had a little more depth, especially if you throw in a Odafe Oweh there as well. But pick your poison. I don't know the Ravens' pass rush to the nth degree. I know enough to at least make my pick, but there could be a guy that I just didn't watch full film on if you guys have the inside on some Ravens players. But I would say Kansas City on just front four, probably give the edge to them. Linebacker core, this is kind of a toss-up. I would say the Ravens. I'm a big fan of Patrick Queen, but don't sleep on the Chiefs completely. Secondary, this is tough. L'Jarius Sneed and Travarius Ward have really emerging to be notable cornerbacks, and Tyrann Mathieu coming back, the Honey Badger, that's pretty good. My question mark is going to be how are the Ravens going to be without Marcus Peters but Jimmy Smith coming in. I think Jimmy Smith is going to be a guy that can really help take over Marcus Peters' role, not to the full degree, but really help fill in. So this is really a one of who's healthier at this point. Is Tyrann Mathieu 100%? Is Jimmy Smith 100%? You see Marlon Humphrey there is questionable. I'm sure he'll play, but still, are these guys 100%? That's who I'm really going to give the edge to on the secondary. Who's the healthier one? But for the most part, I would say the Chiefs dominantly win all categories on offense, and the Ravens have some aspects on defense, arguably. Head coach, Andy Reid, I'm going to take over John Harbaugh. I think kind of a similar thing as to the roster. I'd say John Harbaugh might be a better defensive head coach, but offense, Andy Reid, the top of the line. He's top-notch. So the factors favoring the Chiefs, go look at the odds, actually. Who's favored to win this game? Chiefs are favored -3.5. Odds to win 63% to 37%, so it's not a favored blowout. It's in that 60 to 40% range going towards the Chiefs. The factors that are winning the Chiefs or in the Chiefs' advantage: A, quarterback; B, backfield; C, offensive line, arguably; D, the receiving room; and E, head coach. That's 5 aspects that's kind of really giving the edge to them. I guess if you want to go in depth on special teams, Justin Tucker's better than Harrison Buckner, but it's not that far apart. Buckner's pretty good as well, but I'm not really looking at special teams. Looking at the defense, again, some aspects go to the Ravens, and they do have home field advantage, and they're pretty hungry coming off a loss versus the Raiders. But until Lamar gives or takes the crown from Mahomes, and I do think he'll eventually, I don't think over their next 10 to 15 to 20-year careers, Lamar will never beat Mahomes once, but I also don't think it's going to happen right now. Just given the circumstances of being the healthier team, I do think the Chiefs will win this one. That's a factor as well that's in their advantage. And I got Mahomes and the Chiefs starting 2-0 like they usually do, and the Baltimore Ravens unlike they usually do, starting 0-2, surprisingly. Still think the Baltimore Ravens could be a playoff team. Still think they'll be in the hunt, but winning the division could be and will be a lot harder now, especially with the Steelers looking better than a lot of people thought, and the Browns, even though they lost to the Chiefs, they looked very complete. The Ravens, they probably could have won that game and should have won that game, but still, just the way the injury bug is catching them, it's hard to say they will win the division. But if Lamar wants to have an MVP performance and show he can still lead this team to the playoffs and show he can still win this division, a statement win over the Kansas City Chiefs and over Mahomes is how you do it. It's how you kickstart. It's how you start it off. But we'll just have to see. You guys tell me what your score prediction is, like I asked in the beginning of the video. I'm giving this one to the Chiefs in a somewhat dominant game. I'm going to say I'm going to go 30-17, Kansas City Chiefs. Kind of a dominant game, but I just don't think the Ravens are healthy to the nth degree to have a lot of confidence in them. But we'll see. If the Ravens win, I'll be somewhat surprised. I won't be shocked. I won't be utterly surprised. But if it's a close game, if it's a good game, it's a weird game, I don't think Baltimore is this 0% chance underdog that has 0 chance at winning. But we'll see. As always, and of course, thanks for watching, guys.